Here at SDSU, I see myself in the thing. I gotta use I gotta put product in my. I don't know if I'm gonna. The haircuts cost a lot of money. If I can find someone that can do it for free or cheap, but I don't like buzz cuts. I like to be a little bit classy. I'm one of these people. Unfortunately, people are gonna hate me for it, but I have to. Like, where's the pajamas too? Like that picture of Steve Hilton in Republican governor candidate in Ballotopedia. That doesn't look good. We're gonna have to get that picture off of there. In any event. How I look aside. What I had planned for today, and you can see we're already at SDSU, was to take like a 3 to 4 hour long brisk walk from Father Joe's Villages here to SDSU. And here's, you'll see, here's my calendar. There's all this stuff. So it shows I had breakfast and it says go. I take the walk. I want to show you what I had here. It was a very good thing I put together. And there's the map. And of course in here it links to my OneNote. So let me pull it up in my desktop tab, which is a better view of the map. Okay, right, we can't pull it because it doesn't have internet, and that's another thing we're going to talk about. Actually, the desktop link, which is this one. All right, it's not working too well. But anyway, I think here we go. So there it is. Double click the picture. Okay, I guess but this is the thing I had ChatGPT put together, which is just a good turn-by-turn where you have to turn to keep an eye on. So basically following the Rapid 215 route from SDSU Transit Center to College, City College, where it goes, and you got to catch the blue line down to 12th and Imperial. But so you start here, and then once you're up at Broadway, you make a left. And then you end up at City College, and then you make a right on Park Boulevard, and then there's a landmark, Balboa Park, then you're at University Avenue, continue on to El Cajon Boulevard, make the right. And then past 30th Street, past 35th, past the I-15 Boulevard Transit Plaza there. That's the one where the bus to Escondido literally gets off the freeway, the I-15, and then it pulls into this little area, and you catch an elevator up to that transit plaza on El Cajon Boulevard. 43rd Street, Winona Avenue, 54th Street. Then you make a right on College Avenue, and then you're right there at SDSU Transit Center, and there's Love Library, and I would have been there right at opening time at 10 a.m., but I had to catch the blue line, the green line trolley right out of 12th and Imperial and come here to get my bearings in front of a computer, and then I'm going to have to make it a point to buy a Dr. Pepper with the last of my money at Jack in the Box and sit there where they have Wi-Fi and do work. So we're going to talk about needing to get Verizon Visible. Mint Mobile has incredible limitations on, there's only a certain amount of gigabytes. I think it's like 20 or something like that, and then you have to pay 20 for 15 more. And because of the amount of data usage that I have, and it's all premium Wi-Fi. It's all premium, for the tethering. It's premium mobile data, whatever Ryan Reynolds said, premium wireless. The way he says it's perfect, Ryan Reynolds. And by the way, it is, and it's good for things like, if you have to upload a video and you're willing to use a couple gigabytes of stuff. But I'm not even doing that. I'm just, work. So for me, Verizon Visible, even the cheapest plan, it doesn't have to be premium. It can be 4G speeds for that. That's fine with me. It just has to be unlimited so that no matter what situation I'm in. Now, this is all related to getting a job. This is all downloading PDFs and having AI generate reports for me. And before AI, I was a master at this. I would have to do these reports myself. This is what I did. I would generate PDF reports, basically, do the work of a government agency, an entire environmental impact statement, or for something like if I want to start a daily walk somewhere. Every job application, I talked about my folder system, and if I've got certain projects I'm working on, it's got to have folders, entire folios, and I would print out. And I wrote in my book, Comeback of the Century, that if I didn't grow up in an office with a Xerox machine, I would not have made it through middle school, let alone college. That because I was able to print out all this shit, digest of stuff, I'm the kind of person, we're actually going to get to this in this video, that I can't learn from the textbook that we are supposed to buy at the university library. I have to learn from other sources. And one of the reasons is that the textbooks are too crappy and they're too low level for these survey courses and for just they don't use high level stuff. But what's interesting is the low-level textbooks, especially in survey course, 100 level, 200 level, but even at the higher levels, the crappy textbooks. Now, it's because I was in English, at the point where you get to 300 or 400, you all know this. These are small classes that are run like book club. And that's why, even though I always say, I have a degree, I have a degree, I have a degree, I don't have a degree, I have a degree. What I told the judge, and they put it on, I'll put the link to it. There was news coverage of it, which was that I'm a few credits shy of an English degree, is true. And some people would say, well, why don't you transfer that shit into like SDSU or something, do all your classes online, or even like, since you're going to go online, it could even be UC Bakersfield or CSU, or go to Fullerton or whatever. But you could say SDSU. Like everybody that's an insurance agent in San Diego, you have your English degree from SDSU. They might even take you as an officer in the military. Well, I mean, you'd have to walk into a recruitment office, and if I were a recruiter in the Navy or the Air Force, someone walks in and they have something on their paper that says English degree creative writing, not it says business writing or something like that. Not that that's any better, because they have to learn all that other shit too. And it says creative writing, and British literature emphasis. Okay, Dickens. Great. That's not the Dickens we're going to be doing to the enemy. Why should I even look at you? To think of you as an officer or something like that. The question I would immediately want that person to answer the question as to why you shouldn't just throw this paper out and say, get out of the office. You have an English degree. They better be ready to answer that question. It's like this person is not highly qualified in anything except making up bullshit. Our computer makes up the bullshit. The psyop stuff you have to do, that all the co-intel, that's all done by AI. That's all done by computer now. They talked about the military investing in a lot of AI and even the open AI platform itself. All that stuff. Counterintelligence, that's all made up by IBM RAMAC 1401 program computer. It comes up with the best shit to disable the heads and opinions and ideologies of the other side. It enabled America to win the ideological war that was the Cold War. That was all IBM for, and we had the best. You read Claude Lévi-Strauss's The Structural Study of Myth. He was talking about myth themes. Well, I think if we have a way to now have a computer write the greatest novel, and it can, like, what's the point in anything? It could probably write the Bible in a way that makes people more Christian moral than the actual text of the King James translation of it. So I think there's a lot of weird questions, from the comparative religion standpoint. But so okay, anyway, I digress. I'm not going to do that because there's no point in getting a college degree unless this is my new position on it. Do not go to college unless you have proficiency in calculus and are going to be taking up to multivariable calculus. There is no point. Because with that kind of stuff like ohms and electrical engineering just makes sense. Of course, you could easily, with a degree in something like that, even structural engineering with that kind of understanding of calculus, to where you can reverse engineer from a little bit of reading. Electrical engineering, okay, what are you going to do with that? Become an electrical journeyman? Yeah, but that's all the stuff about, make sure you put the glove on, do the hot testing with the hot stick thing. And this is just one what's called 120, the receptacles and switches. Don't worry. But I mean, what you could do, you don't want to close a circuit on one of these either. But there's higher level. If you're a lineman, you better have those gloves on. You never take those gloves off, because we know what happens, and it ain't pretty. And it's over. It's all over. Up on those platforms if you take the gloves off. It's not boxing. You're trained with, well, it is. You're trained with the gloves off, but you work with the gloves on, and we are at work. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to complete a degree where the upper level classes, you're sitting in a circle with these girls that are going to be teachers somewhere in Washington or somewhere in Southern California or somewhere in Hawaii. Women that came from Southern California, they're going to get a job that pays $60,000. Hawaii State Teachers Association, Department of Education, Hawaii State DOE, Donald and Dela Cruz hook up and find some way to live in a cheap place, because I'm in Hawaii, and work at some elementary school, and that's so then they're gonna have to get a master's in education. Oh, what bullshit! Who else has a master's in education? Abe Lee. He did more with his master's in education than any teacher. They need to get rid of the schools. They need to get rid of the schools. There's AI. There's no point and especially in areas that would make sense in cheap rural areas. You don't want to get away from your parents. You got to have some athletic club to go to get away from mom and dad. And play football for like Pahrump Trojans, Pahrump Valley High School, or something like that in the rural area. Tonopah, they've got what they call the 8-man football. There's usually there's 11, right? Because the 12th man is not on the field. But these are things I need to, as books I had AI tell me you need to go and read to understand the X's and O's, so I can be like Joe Paterno. In any event, where were we? I did digress, but it's important stuff to talk about why no one should be in college if they're not studying calculus and have no reference to it, because you look at, say, a periodic table of the elements on, and if you're in a chemistry classroom, I in that ENG 285 or 286 class, I forgot which one it was, that I put up the B-roll footage of. I put free B-roll for people, and it's in, by the way, it's the same building that they do have the ROTC program in, which it's an Air Force ROTC at SDSU. They do the color guard at the games, the Snapdragon Stadium kind of stuff. And but it's the program is exercise and nutrition. But this classroom, this auditorium classroom, has been open all summer, and it's a kind of a cool air-conditioned place. It's the hottest time of year here in San Diego. It is getting hot. I'm getting pimples on my face. It's like I'm in the worst place really at the moment. Not as bad as Hawaii, especially early in the morning. It is cool, and it's and the weird thing with San Diego, and everybody knows it, is depending on where you are in San Diego, the farther you are from the Bay, it's gonna get a lot hotter. So even in El Cajon, there's some places that it feels like 95, it feels like 100. There was extreme heat warning yesterday, but especially when you get into Ramona and into the valley and into what they call Playa, where they have the Harrahs, and that's a Caesars, or it's a Caesars, so the war between Caesars and MGM, and Caesars and MGM for and they're trying to take over everything. So these Indian reservations, they're going to be Caesars, they're Harrahs, and so they are Caesars. It's all out of Vegas, but there's gambling everywhere. And so let's see. Of course, we got Sycowan and El Cajon, unaffiliated with one of the big two Illuminati. Pasha Matson, Maersk, Hapag Lloyd, Horizon Lines, or whatever it is, whatever the other thing, Maersk, Tom Hanks was Sully. Tom Hanks had to be saved by the Navy snipers because Somalians that got hooked up with German women via the propaganda that Merkel was putting out over there to marry these Somalians because they proved they were incredibly athletically equipped to be able to get on one of these ships and completely take it over that way. And on the USS, I forgot what the name, but Carl Vincent or something like that, something out of Don McLean, Starry Night, and they were in the Mediterranean or something like that. Yeah, Mediterranean or somewhere, whatever they call. I don't know the map of the world. That's another thing I have to have my personal assistant do, is run me through. I read the Economist, but I don't know the map of the world. It helps to know the map of the world. I know the map of this is Tijuana, this is San Diego. The other thing we have to learn is San Diego, and one of the things I'm gonna put a link to the chat in this video. I have to have a personal assistant, so people run me through some drills to learn. So that we've got the I-15, there's the 8, and there's the 5, I think, that comes through here. Like, wherever in the world I go, I'm clueless. And by the way, why would you want to live in Hawaii? Well, of course, temperature too small. But even there, I'm just directionally disoriented. Even when I was chasing after policemen and firefighters, I would have to use Google Maps. And I was trying to learn the streets better. Think, okay, well, maybe I could be a real estate agent here or something. But so I bought this red line delivery map, and it's a little genius secret of people in pizza delivery and how they just learn areas. It's because they buy this thing called a red line delivery map. They no longer sell them anywhere. They used to be at Fisher, Hawaii there, and they make them for all around the country, but it's a trucker secret. It's for people that are truckers. These are the best routes to take, and it shows which routes, so that you've got a big truck, you can't get it under some of these overpasses. But it's the best way to get the places, the red line delivery map. So you can order it online. I got to look into that. So this is just all the ideas I have. I got to turn to my personal assistant and say, I have this idea. Because again, I'm one of these demented broker people, needs 5 people helping them. And I'm actually going to make a video about would I ever get back into real estate sales? And the truth is, it's not going to make me enough money. It would never make me enough money, even if I was one of the top producing agents in the United States of America, wherever I was. A licensed real estate salesman or broker, it would not make me enough money. The most you can make is a couple $100,000. That's reality. And 90% of people don't make that much. Everybody says, I want the 6 figures, I want 100K. nobody, and you need 5 people helping you. Those people aren't going to make that much, and one of the things I'm going to talk about is my trademarking America stuff, my branding I did for all these different places and coming into. So for San Diego, I've rolled out back in 2022 when I was here, the monumental mission. That also applies to LA, all of Southern California. It's the monumental mission. In many ways, it's about all of California because we're starting in San Bernardino at that principal meridian, but in many ways we are in Humboldt. And one of the things this video has to talk about is that 3-tier system, because as I was writing the green line, but by the way, before we get into that, we're gonna talk about the 3-tier system in context of what I saw out the window of the Green Line trolley, which is the Pacific Surfliner, and I had an important thought that you all need to know. And I'm going to have to also talk about words because this has to do with learning Spanish. And I saw a sign, and we're going to get to this. It was an MTS sign, and of course they put everything in Spanish and English because this is a place we want them to come and have their anchor babies. That's the way San Diego wanted it. I'm the anchor man. But it said, essentially don't trespass into the high voltage area or loiter around this area because, it's high voltage area where they've got the big electrical transformer stuff. And they had it in English and in Spanish. And I want to talk about what to ask AI for. It's called a literal translation. And there's a reason why, because then you can learn how unique the English language is. And my rudimentary understanding of the history, and if you read Old English, some words remain weird among them, and as fate would have it, the way I can just the way I do it, the way I do it. What was it? And then the Latin and Franco stuff came from Normandy invasion, and when Beowulf was written, if you look at it in Old English, I'm wondering if I'll get to that later. So I got to make a note to myself to talk about words and the AI generating to learn, because vocabulary is important, but it's secondary to calculus. And by the way, like I was saying, a deep understanding of quantitative reasoning helps in ways that, at the very least, if not by direct connection, mnemonic or memory aid helps. You read the memory book by Harry Lorraine and that other guy that actually contributed to it really a lot, or was it the other way around? One of them was an athlete that just they put on it kind of like the bell curve full disabled template, or if there's a lawyer where they have another lawyer, so that the one lawyer does all the work, the other does the talking kind of stuff. It's what I call full disability template. You're being pushed in a wheelchair through life. But anyway, there's a book called The Memory Book. If you know quantitative reasoning, all this stuff is just stuff your head automatically does. You don't have to read this book and ingrain these ideas about a grid and then how to remember a deck of playing cards kind of stuff and linking things by way of absurd visualization. These are things your head is going to do, a lot like a slot machine. You're in Vegas, you see one of these things and how they used to be with the the way in which numbers relate to each other, and because there's an intersection point for some reason somewhere on a Cartesian. And so, and like with denominations of money, for something as simple as if you're going to be a cashier, if you know multivariable calculus, your head is going to reverse engineer from all these dimensions its way back to dividing things by 20. How many times does 25 go into this? And suddenly long division and easy division problems and its inverse, which is multiplication, become your head pulls all of it. Your head will pull all of it up. And so the memorization of a multiplication table suddenly becomes possible because you know everything that's out there and you understand where that fits into everything. I'm someone that can't just, here's high school algebra, you're raping my head with polynomials, please stop doing it, if I don't know what this is for. So if I'd have understood, there's a lot of things, but for instance, Taylor's theorem, if I'd understood why the more what are they called, factors or whatever the term is for between the operator sign in polynomials, with each of these, why the more of them, the more accurate a curve trace becomes. Being raped in the head by polynomials would have been something I would have enjoyed. Having the algebra teacher do that to me, so it would make sense and I would understand it because I see where this fits into the broader picture of quantitative reasoning and what we can do with it. And already I learned that stuff in elementary, so now we're just reverse engineering That's me licking my own asshole, reverse engineering, when I say that, my way back to using this little piece of understanding how to bend the speed of light, let's say, which is what we're doing with numbers and math, to solve specific things, because we know everything. But so what I was going to talk about, I'm going to have to make a note to myself to talk about it, which was wanted to talk about the generation of reports for learning individual words in any language. And we're going to ask what to prompt AI to generate from, like, an American Heritage Dictionary definition. You know, Roy Peter Clark, in his book The Glamour of Grammar, said, you know, the importance of understanding American Heritage Dictionary and Oxford English Dictionary, because Oxford English Dictionary is great at tracing etymology, right? But okay, to have just enough of an understanding with each word, and why it comes into play is to create every single word has a lot of pie charts, and its context and its connotation and it's what it denotes certain words, because the concept of homophone is that it has different definitions it denotes different things, and they also connote different things. And so we have to generate all the pie charts on an individual word to see where these fit into. So you've got all these lists of synonyms, and they are to a degree a synonym to a certain word, and to a degree less of a synonym for denotative and connotative reasons, right? So there's all these, I'm going to talk about all the pie charts you need to generate on a word to get a visual idea of the definition of that word, and that becomes a inlet into a deeper understanding of etymology. So that's why I put that there. We're going to come back to that if we have time. I've already spent, like it says, 20 minutes, but I'm going to talk about the little snafu we had. I'm going to show you my feet again, because we bought these nice shoes, and I finally wanted to get to use. I was going to take this long walk this morning. We had a problem at work. So last night, because you're homeless and you don't have a job yet, and you're focusing on putting in job applications, sitting in front of a computer for hours a day, and then trying to get out there and meet people, shake hands. You got these 2 pairs of socks on, and I've had them on for like a month. And they started to smell so horrible. And so when I get up on my bunk bed, I got the top bunk. It's pretty good. It's close to the air conditioner. It smelled so bad I could smell it under my blanket. I had to just take the socks off and then stick it into a plastic. I've got this roll of plastic bags so that when I piss through my Ben Hogan's or whatever, and I've got to change, I can immediately just put it in the plastic bag so it doesn't stink up all of my folders and all of that stuff. And then we put it in laundry, which, by the way, does remind me is why I need a personal assistant or someone to hook me up with, like, an AI super agent that I can just turn to and tell. We've got a 6 o'clock without it making an ICS file that I have to then take time to download, open, import into Outlook or into Calendar program, where it is going to be a Cloudflare D1 backend with, and someone has to know Visual Studio and how to make YAML and how to do coding and whatever language that's in that we're so that we can have something where we have it basically a CRM backend that I can double up and use as a custom GPT, so ChatGPT can just go in and edit all of these things and create a great way, which basically is a system to mirror my physical folders. So every time I make a physical folder, I can you can create a because with like CRMs, which is for contacting people and scheduling, that's so with all these job applications, I'm saying I got to have a personal assistant work with a PDF that I had AI generate with a staggered bunch of dates to do this, mail this postcard out to follow up, make this phone call to follow up, go to the office to follow up if they've got a place. But if you can automate so much of it with SMS and just have a Twilio and API and with click to mail, it can make a postcard and just send it, and we got batch mailings every week. And then everything I need to have mailed, and so the front end of a CRM. So not only is it for contact, C doesn't only mean contact, but it also means content, because the CRM would also create web pages. It would create, to share like resumes with people that only have phone number, so that they can't say I didn't send them what a genius I am to get a job. And there's other things too that this is now going to be easily applied. It just requires changing the front end a little bit. And what ChatGPT has always been very good at from the very beginning is coding an HTML web page. So these poor people that study computer science, and think that because I can make a website. They all no, but we have to just be honest about things. And we have to be honest about things. The person that knows what to ask ChatGPT to do for them, someone can go in there, and even if it's terrible, like with my site, I don't have time to make the copy good. I don't have time to disable the ethics where it fucks me up because it thinks what I'm asking people for is unethical. It's not. It's not unethical. It's just that Sam Altman doesn't want me to be the winner. He wants to be the winner. Right there. Sam Altman owns it, and that's why I'm being fucked up by AI, because I want to be richer than Sam Altman, and that's what I'm trying to get at. And so you think Sam Altman's going to help you? You're on Truth Social. You know, and Donald Trump is the social media icon. I'm supposed to be the social media icon because YouTube likes to censor everybody because it likes to keep everybody ethical in their slave roles in society. I'm supposed to own the slaves instead of be one of the slaves. So right there, that's the definition of ethics. That's the person whose platform you're using. He's the landlord, you're the tenant. You pay rent, which if you've got ChatGPT, the highest you get costs $200 a month. I have Plus, and that's something I have to have enough money to pay for. Is why we need a job, because you see how important it is for me, and it's enough for me. Plus is enough for me at the moment. I'd rather spend $200 a month on getting the property data updated from all across the country, which would include California, so I can search by owner, see concentrations of wealth and all of that. But that's the kind of stuff that CRM we develop then becomes adaptable to once I have a job and I'm doing my slave role in society, so that while I'm doing all this stuff like cleaning, spraying a window, wiping it, I've got everything in technology working for me to find people we can talk to give me properties so I can start living the life I was meant for, spend their money. What else? Or marry into their family, find me the rich wife. When I was Paris Hilton bending over eating a Carl's Jr. burger, stars are blind, right? Stars are blind. She sees out of her asshole. I like her looking right at my face, looking me in the eyes. So we wrote that I guess we're probably not gonna get to come around to. I talked about it already. I talked about the pie charts for every word, but this was a problem. So I had to take I put my socks in the tote bag that I had, and because I had it all scheduled out to take the walk to SDSU and try to do a little bit of jogging this morning by that pathway I was talking about. It's okay, tomorrow in the morning, even though it's out of hours, usually if you're gonna go somewhere, you're gonna leave starting at like 4 to 6 a.m. They'll let you into storage to put your stuff away. So I transferred everything, and they did. So I transferred everything from that bag into my trusty. This is a historic bag. This is the bag I had in San Diego in 2022 and in Las Vegas. There's a hell of a story behind this bag. This is years old, and here I am with it again. Teton, right? It's a Scout 45, I believe, bag, and that's the capacity of it. I'm gonna have to get another one. Amazon Basics actually makes one that's a little bit higher capacity, but I'm gonna have to get the Scout 85, huge, and that's just because I'm homeless. That's all my belongings, wherever I go to LA or Vegas. Just stick that bag into the storage container they give you once you get a storage container. That's everything. You can easily take it out if you have to go because you get a job somewhere else and they kick you out, and now you have to get a sleeping bag at Walmart, and then. There's a smaller bag I can roll up in like a tote bag and take with me every day as I'm applying for jobs or what have you, meeting people and shaking hands, giving out flyers. So it becomes a very easy way not to be tied down to one area, which is important if you care about having a job and making money. But so again, the socks went with that other bag into the storage and didn't come here, but I wasn't going to wear it. It smelled so horrible. And I'm gonna have to spray this with Lysol or something. And these are nice new shoes when they start to stink that bad, but we'll revive it. And the problem with wearing it this way, and this is why I'm trying to be careful as I'm taking it out, especially as it gets hot and you start to sweat, because you have feet that have fingerprint stuff on the bottom meant to grip. And that's the weird thing with shoes, is we're living in a society where human beings are meant to have cuts and rocks going to the bottom of their feet. We become so sensitive to pain because we're in a civilized society where everybody is entitled to, even homeless people, you got to give them sandals or shoes, right? And these are ones I have to take the upgrade. I need better shoes than the ones they would give me so I can run. These are Brooks Ghost 17, paid like $100, $110 for them, and I got to make them last. And the tread lasts a good amount of time compared to the Clifton from Hoka that I prefer. That they're heavier, but they've got a lot more cushion. That's the one I probably would wear at the marathon, is the Clifton Hoka. But these are lighter and they're good for training. And But so you got to, the more expensive the shoe, the more you have to replace them. Like, already the tread's kind of wearing out a little bit. See, it's because that will change when I lose 80 pounds. That's the whole point of what I'm doing. So we have to maximize time. I made a great plan to come up here, but the problem is I've got no socks. So if I don't, if so, it's a weird. You're always having to make this when you have no money. This decision, this economic decision between, do I conserve, which in this case I need to lose weight, and so, or do I and just wait a little bit and until we get socks and then run tomorrow, but I need to run every day, or do we just go for broke? But then you're in a situation where you fucked up your shoes, because think about it. You got these fingerprint stuff on the bottom of your feet so that it grips, and especially when you're sweating, now it's gonna rip, even from a pair of shoes this expensive, it's gonna rip out the soles of the shoe. That's what happens if you're not wearing socks. If you don't wear socks, it's going to rip out the sole of the shoe. I paid $110 for these. I don't have $110 anymore. These are the shoes I have. And so because that's why I just need to have as much money as I want to do whatever I want to do. I need unlimited money. We talk about the Verizon unlimited data plan. Someone else should have that plan to do the research for me. That's my servant. I have the unlimited money plan. I sign up for Verizon unlimited postpaid, 100%. Premium wireless tethering, and do everything with it with your phone. I signed up for the unlimited money plan, generative runaway money. We talk about runaway AI, where it can code things and just keep making things up, and it can do it even for $20 a month. This is now doing, because you can schedule certain things, and it runs on, it used to be you got to do a Google spreadsheet, import XML to Aya website for changes, and now you just tell ChatGPT, tell me when new things are added to this public website. But anyway, you'd have to have a Google App script to email your Gmail when something changed in the spreadsheet, because that now reflects the public web page that it's monitoring by way of periodically scraping in real time. There's all kinds of things you can do, but that's the problem. So this is just the nightmare that's created by me not having thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So even the work I do and the money I'm going to make from it isn't going to be enough, which is why I need people to give me their property, which is why I need people to give me their daughters, which is why I need people to give me their housewives once they've procreated eugenically, and then their marriages are on the outs, and then now, she thinks about the world different, and this guy that's supreme, athletic, high IQ, she doesn't like him for some reason. Now I get to put my penis inside her. This is why, and I get the house too. This is why I need to be looking at the public data for all of this stuff, so I can start stepping into the place I belong in life. But part of that involves losing my 80 pounds I have to lose and getting to the marathon in 2027. So you lose a day. I may end up getting around to it, and I'm going to go back for lunch since we came up here to do some work. But first I got to go to get a Dr. Pepper, I guess, and do some work where there's Wi-Fi, since we ran out of premium tethering. There used to be a way to trick it. But anyway, so that's the problem. That's why I couldn't run to SDSU this morning to get there in time for Love Library opening this Saturday at 10 a.m. I even had someone was kind enough to leave. So people are going to start poisoning me, right? But you got to have faith. Everyone needs faith. I think people are fundamentally good. And people do care. And there's a lot of magic I've come across. And when I was in Vegas homeless in 2022, I hate the noise of a homeless shelter. And already this is ripping apart. I'm going to have to drink it. So if I do miss lunch or something, of course, we've got the 6:30 p.m. You saw on the calendar. The Alpha Project gives away hit or miss. Every other day it's good, but every other day it's terrible. But there's always this if I can't get a lunch. I found a couple of these, and inside the Love Library. Someone, people that are, if they're in the exercise and nutrition program, probably have the equipment to put a cyanide juice in here and then just seal it up the way that they would in the factory. But, you gotta believe humanity is fundamentally good. He's schizophrenic. He thinks people are poisoning him. Yeah, you just know people don't like you. But that's what I was gonna talk about with the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner, which is that I have to ask AI points. As I saw that Surfliner there at Santa Fe Depot when I was coming up on the Green Line, I was thinking to myself, I'm the kind of person that should have a robust social network of people where, okay, you know what, I have to go up to LA, try to find work there. It's not going to work in San Diego. I shouldn't have to be looking at a homeless shelter. I should know people there, be so charismatic, so great at the party that I met people, shook hands, stayed in touch with people. My CRM system I had for 10 years that people were developing before AI for me, that I had ideas about, that medication when I was on a suppress, I wanted to write letters at the time when we could get this information to so many of the counties easy through Obama open data policies in California, write letters to these people that had concentrations of wealth in California. So I want to marry your daughter because I'm not okay with my life outcomes and what they're expecting from me with vocational outcomes. That's not going to be enough money for me. I like traveling. I like yachts. I like beautiful women. I like athletic women. I don't like Waipahu High School. I don't like Waianae High School. Not that Waianae is bad, because, you know, these are the ones that aren't going to Kamehameha, but Hawaiians are eugenic. And, you know, Duka Hanamoku, you've got, and their fathers, no, don't put on the muscle. Kohuku, put on the muscle. That's a kind of genius. And, you know, I'm writing a letter to my father, too. I'm having AI help me to thank him for sending me my last $200 from work that he, this was many months ago, but that check did come. So he was kind of handling my mail. He's a guy living in welfare there. And it's a sad thing because this is what happens is you end up in a concentration camp. But he was a bodybuilder. I'm gonna put a link to the website. We talked about this before. So he did send the check. I'm waiting on it. I'm gonna get $200. What are you gonna do with it? Well, I'm gonna have to think about, do I sign up for Verizon Visible, renew Mint Mobile on this one? I'm gonna need a second one. It's just not gonna be enough. We need a job. We need a job, and I want to just get a job here. In any event.